Sometimes life just does not go as planned, and that's been my last couple of weeks. It's definitely been happening with me with my knitting and crochet. And so I want to talk to you about that. So I hope you grab a cup of whatever, grab a project, and let's go chat over some yarn. So if my voice goes scratchy or I have to cut, I have to cough or get something to drink, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure we did have strep throat. We all had like a little bit of throat issues. There was a consistent fever and 2 out of 4 of us had severe headaches. I had the headache really bad, and so did my youngest, and it lasted for several days. But in today's video, I kind of want to talk about what I learned through that and having my hard drive die. Because lo and behold, as I came out here last week on Thursday, just like today, I sat in this spot, sat down to record, and the hard drive wasn't working. And then right after that, we got sick. So it was a lot. And we're going to talk about what I've been knitting and crocheting, obviously, because I've got some new things that I started. And I got a lot of progress on my Romy heel shawl that I can't wait to show you. We're actually going to be casting that off together because I want to show you the cool cast on, or not cast on, cast off that is with this pattern and the cute little picot that it results in making. And then I want to show some things that I picked up over at the in-laws when I was cleaning that my mother-in-law has started knitting and crocheting. So let's go ahead and get started with the Romy heel shawl because I think it is like the biggest thing. And I just can't wait to show you. So the Romy heel shawl was a mystery knit along that was released right after April 2020, that Easter week or so. I think it started the 1st of May, if I remember correctly. And we just experienced the 1st of May, so it literally is 6 years old at this point. And I've been working diligently to get this thing cast off during this Stash Down series. I think when we first started, I was way down here. And as you can see, I've come a very long way. And I started the the cast off this past week, but I wanted to save a little bit of stitches and show you how this cast off works because it's very interesting. You can see the motif of the lace in this color right here. These are all Kim Dye's yarn. I'll show you the label. I think I have one over there, but it has this really pretty lace motif on it. And it has these picots, and the way that the cast off is done, you're knitting these picots, but you're never purling, and you're casting off a stretchy bind off at the same time. So it's all a continuous motion. In preparation for this, they said to set aside 2 rows of yarn just for the cast off. And I just kind of thought it was very interesting. And so I saved the last little bit to share with you. So this is the Kim Dye yarn that I used for this project. This is the leftover fig compote. It's this really gorgeous blue. I really love her dye style. And then I think this color is called Murky Pond. I'm pretty sure. I'll put it right here if it's not. But let's get this thing cast off. It's kind of a tangled mess because it's been in the bag waiting for about a week and a half now to do this with you. I knit this off my Shy Goose. I don't love the red cable, but I do love it for shawls. But I love the design of this. I love this gorgeous motif that Romy designed and how it points to these picots. To do this, you have to work this from the back. So let me get all this untangled. So the way this works is you knit up to the stitch that is the spine of that lace motif. You're going to knit into it. You're still going to have your previous stitch on your right hand needle. And so once you knit into it, you have 2 stitches on your needles. You're going to slide both of those back to your left hand needle and you're going to knit those through the back loop. And then for this picot, you're going to repeat this process a total of 3 times. Having a hard time right here. Okay, there we go. So we're going to do it again. Knit, have 2 loops on the right needle, put them back on the left, and knit through the back loop. And one more time for this one, knit 2 on the right needle, slide them back to the left needle, knit through the back loop. And then that creates the picot. So I'm just going to move my little stitch marker, and we're going to continue on. Knit, slide, knit through the back loop. And that's what gives us that really cute picot that is right on the spine of that little motif. And so the rest of them are just going to be knit, slide, knit through the back loop. It's actually quite meditative, and I've really enjoyed this cast off because of that, I think, and what it's allowed me to have some mental space to just relax. We got the ends woven in. I had to bring in a little lamp. It's so gloomy outside from the tornadoes that we had yesterday. We did not have any, but we were under a watch warning for a large portion yesterday. So we got a lot of rain though, and we desperately needed the rain. And I'm so thankful that we did not have any tornadoes. We didn't have any warnings or tornadoes come through our area in all of April, which is very odd. Our state is known for tornadoes in the spring. Well, they're known for tornadoes all year long, but usually we have like really big bad ones that rip through our state in April, and that didn't happen. So very thankful for that. But I am so excited to have this off my needles, and we are going to go in and block it in a little bit, but I do want to talk about a couple of finishing techniques that I like to do in case you've never really blocked a piece before, or just in case you were generally wondering. So when I leave my ends, I always leave a good long tail to weave in. And that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to have a good amount of woven in stitches so that the tail doesn't pop out. Number two, I like to make sure that if I do have to rip back, if I've already cut the yarn, then it kind of gives me a little coverage if maybe I skipped a couple of stitches to pull that in, so that way I'm not left with a shorter tail when I get ready to finish the piece. So typically I leave about anywhere from whatever that is. That's about a normal tail for me. And then I'll weave it in to it's only like half of that. And the way I weave in is you want to catch your umbrellas of the stitch and your cups of the stitch. So you go through your umbrella, you go through your cup, umbrella, cup, and then I'll even go up a row and come back the opposite way. Because going through those different stitches in the different directions, it's going to make that yarn pull on itself. So when you go to block it, it's going to expand and kind of suck up, but it's going to stay with its fellow stitches, and you're not going to have it pop out later on. And so then when you get done blocking, you can snip it super close to your project, and you're never going to see that end pop out. I've never had an end pop out. However, there's a caveat to that, and that is when you're doing things where it has more than one color like this, you have a couple options. You can cut your yarn at the end of each color and then weave in those ends. But there's something that you really need to think about if you do that, and that is, do you have enough yarn to complete the project if you do that? Because you saw how much of that gold I have left. And I was actually really worried about running out of yarn. So if I had a bunch of stripes and I had to leave a long enough tail to weave them all in, then that could put myself in a battle of yarn chicken. And I don't like playing yarn chicken because I don't like to lose. And I want to make sure that I'm going to have enough yarn to complete my project. So what I typically do is I just carry the yarn if it's not a lot of stitches. This one was just a few rows of blue in between, and so I just carried that gold. And you can kind of see it right there, but when you're wearing it, you're not really going to see it. You can kind of see it on the back a little bit more, but that's the back. That's not where the magic happens with lace anyways. With lace, it's all about the front. What you can do though, if you want to have really nice edges, then you can, on your little parts where it's like that, then don't leave those ends in until after you block your piece. And the reason for that thinking is that that way you can kind of gauge where you need to pull that stitch so it's not pulling at one side, or you can just kind of weave it in and be mindful of that as you're weaving in, which is usually the road I go. If I'm going to cut it, I'll usually just go ahead and weave them in before I block, but I'm mindful about really pulling at that stitch and making sure there's going to be enough give and tension so when I do block it that it's not going to pull on my edges. But yeah, that is that. So what I like to do is when I block, I like to use eucalyptus. And I don't have any skin allergies to this, so that's one of my go-to. I've used the soak a couple of times, but I've had some yarn color runoff with that, and I don't know. It was been through different yarn companies as well, so I don't know if it's something in there that kind of pulls at the yarn color a little bit more. But eucalyptus is a very delicate wash, and it is my go-to, and I love the different scents that it has. I fill up my little basin here. I have a smaller one for smaller projects and a bigger one for big projects with warm, kind of bath water feeling water. You don't want it too hot because you don't want to felt your garment, but I want it to be kind of warm so that it kind of helps get any debris or lotion or anything off that I may have put on the garment or the make when I was knitting or crocheting it. And then I just let it sit in there in its bubbly goodness and relax and then give those fibers enough time to soak up that wool wash. And this is not sponsored or whatever by Eucalyptus. Another one that I like to use is Tuft Woolens. That's another one of my favorite washes. And I love their little wool wash bars because with socks you can just kind of use it to scrub the bottom of your sock and get off the dirt buildup on your heels of the pad of your feet where it tends to kind of to gather. And then I'll just leave it, and I usually let it sit for about 15 minutes. Most of the time I'll forget about it and find an hour later, and then I'll take it out and I begin to squeeze out the water. And once I get it nice and squeezed out, then I lay it on top of a towel. I roll it up and then I kind of stand on it to absorb the rest of the excess water out of the yarn. And then from there, you're ready to block. So to block, I do use blocking mats, but you can use a towel laid out over carpet or bed. I like to use these because I have cats, and once I get it blocked, I can kind of stand it on its side and move it to a closet so they do not mess with it. Because for whatever reason, my cats love to chew on my T-pins. That's what these things are right here. And then I also like to use these blocking, I don't know what these are called. These are from Knitter's Pride, but they allow you to block like little sections at a time. These are great for blocking squares, by the way. I really need to order some more of these. Another tidbit I have about blocking is I don't buy blocking wires. I just use vintage knitting needles, the long 10 to 14-inch ones, and I just use those like they're blocking wires because you can usually find those at thrift stores. So I always start at the middle top and then I work my way out along the top edge, and then I work the bottom where it flares out. And I want to pull it a little tight, but not excessively block it. And so I'll block the middle and then I start going out on the sides. So the bottom is a little bit different. What you want to do is start in the middle of the bottom and pull it down, especially if it's lace. And that's going to allow that lace to kind of have a starting point. This piece actually has two picots, so I'm going to go ahead and stick T-pins in those two picots to give them some availability to open up. And then I'll take one side at a time and I'll start pulling and putting a T-pin in each of the picots. And this really does make your shawl pop once it dries. And once it dries, I will add a photo up on the community tab so you can see what it looks like. Now, I always get asked this question. Every time you wash, do you have to block? And something like this, yes. If you want those picots to pop, Each time you wash it, then yes, you need to block. However, your wool items really don't get that nasty. If you are outside working in, your wool items, they may get sweaty and you can just kind of air them out. It's wool. It's a natural fiber. It has breathability. And the only thing you really want to focus on is washing it before we put it up to store it. So if you're going through a season and then it's time to put it up, then you may want to consider, if it's something that got a lot of wear, to wash your item. And the reason is because those nasty little bugs that come after our wool come after them for the salt and the stuff that we put on the wool. That's what they want. So washing it ahead of time and letting it dry completely before you put it with something like a lavender sachet or cedar balls, that's going to help the longevity of the item because it's going to keep the little buggers away from whatever it is that you made. The next project I want to talk about is my socks. And I did get some work on my socks done. I'm very excited about that. I'm not done with them, but I feel like now that I have that shawl off, like I can breathe. Like that is a big weight to have a 6-year project off your needles. So my socks are living in this Bags by Awesome Granny bag. Love Darlene. And they are Packapeds mixed berries. It's a 20% superfine alpaca, 65% superwash wool, and 15% nylon. So I'm knitting these on zings. These are Knitter's Pride zings. Well, now they're Knit Pro zings because Knit Pro bought out Knitter's Pride. So Knit Pro zings, and I'm knitting these on the, I think they're a 1. Yes, US1 2.25. And I've got a good bit done on this one. These are the weekend Shorty socks. I've talked about them several times, so I'm not going to go into a little detail. I just want to show you that they did get some work done on them. This one's almost ready for a toe. I realized that I could not find my cardboard foot. So if you knit socks, you've probably heard of the Fish Lips Kiss Heel. Is probably my favorite heel. I don't know why, I just love it so much. It also fits my foot very well, but when you buy that pattern, it used to be $1. I think now it's like $2. It comes with this 16-page pattern, which is a little ridiculous, but in that she shows you how to, there's something in my eyelash. Sorry. She shows you how to make a cardboard foot so you can make your socks fit perfectly. And I have to admit, it does work perfectly. And when I knit socks, or I was going to knit socks for my boys, and then they were like, we don't want those. I didn't make them, but I made them a cardboard foot. And you trace your foot, and then she shows you how to do the math to put these different lines. I have a cardboard foot somewhere out here that I used for many years. I have no idea where it was. Like, I have none. I do have my sock ruler, and it does work, but I like having my templates. I'm all about templates. So I need to finish my template of my foot so that I can know perfectly where to start my toe, and then they fit absolutely perfectly every time. I've never had a sock not fit perfectly using my cardboard foot. So these are going to get some more work now. I have a lot of traveling time now since my oldest, drives, and my youngest is in the process of getting his driver's permit. So hopefully my days behind the wheel are a lot less, and that means more knitting. So it is a late evening editing me, and I just want to say that I found my original template. Now, this thing was made in 2014 when I made my first pair of socks. So I am going to just transfer my lines over to my new one, because as you can see, it's gotten a little wear and tear over the years. I mean, it's a cardboard foot. What do you expect? And I've made about 10 to 12 pair of socks. So I'm kind of excited that I found it so I don't have to measure everything and go through that pattern because I don't remember how to do that. So, yay! And I talked about collecting hats in a couple of videos. You can see this there. But I have been making some for my hat drive. I started out with this little guy right here. This is using some Yarn Bee baby yarn. I think it's called baby yarn. Oop, there's a crochet hook attached to it. Yarn Bee Sweet Delights. And this is color Tutti Frutti. There we go. So cute. I like this baby yarn for an acrylic yarn. I've used it for several baby sweaters that I've knit for gifts. And I really need to knit another one for a friend who is having a baby shower soon. It's just so much, so much I need to do. But this one, I didn't really have a pattern. I was just going off my knowledge of crochet, which is not a lot, but I remember when I first started and I was making baby hats for the boys that I found this chart. And if you've never found this chart, it's like this chart right here, and I will link a link to it in the show notes if in case you don't know about it. But the way that it works for a baby hat is you crochet a flat circle to a certain diameter, and then you just start working in the round, and then that fits the baby's head. And that's what I was using. So I made newborn size, and I haven't even weighed it yet to figure out the amount of yardage I use. And then I did like a little open granny stitch, and then I went into just some single crochet for like the brim of the hat. It was cute. It was fun. I'm not the fastest crocheter, but it's gonna be a cute hat for donation. And then, yeah, we need to have a talk because I did something bad. I did something that I don't want to say I regret, but I definitely have guilt, and it's weird. But I am a changed person because I did break my yarn diet and I bought yarn for this hat drive. When I made that pattern video, I showed these little teddy bear hats out of this super bulky yarn, and I bought some to make some of these baby hats because I didn't have any. All the super bulky I have is for other projects. And I was like, I really want to make these hats to donate. They're so stinking cute. So I bought yarn. And it was like such a struggle. Actually, I mean, technically, I didn't buy the yarn. My husband was with me and he was like, I'll buy it. So I kind of was like, okay, that made it a little bit better. But like, it definitely had like that pit in my stomach that I brought more yarn into the house. And I'm just having to deal with it on top of everything else. But I picked up some of the Yarn Bee Snugs and Kisses. And this is the color Teddy, or this is the Teddy. The color is, yeah, it is Teddy. Teddy 09 is the color. Or maybe this is called Teddy and it just says color 09. I'm not sure how Yarn Bee works very well. It's been a long time since I bought yarn. So you can let me know down below what is the correct nomenclature for this. But this yarn is super, super something. Y'all, I hate this yarn so much. I bought two of these. This one has obviously not been touched. This one has. And I've made so far four. I only made four hats. I've only made four hats. I haven't even made the ears yet. And the reason I've only made four hats, let me get some of this out of my lap because it's just everywhere, is because I hate this yarn so much. So I got an end popping out. I don't want to talk about that. I really do not like this yarn. And I don't really like this yarn because it poops on me when you have to cut it. So it leaves that little yarn poopies everywhere. Like, can we not realize how not to do that? Like, why is this still a thing that we have to deal with? But I have made four newborn hat sizes. And these do have ends woven in. Yay for me. Trying to stay on top of that. But this stuff, when it comes like this, at first I thought, okay, I'll pull from the inside because maybe that would be a little bit easier. I can just leave this in my yarn basket and pull from the inside. Chaos hit. And 2.5 hours of my life was spent trying to resolve said chaos. At one point, I had it like I was in the bed trying to untangle it, and I had it on my looped around my light, and I had my husband holding it in, and I was trying to untangle it. Like I don't, if there's a secret way to use this yarn, I need you to leave me a comment and let me know, because I don't know what it is, but I need to know because I haven't started this one and I'm kind of scared to. Like, I'm actually considering just returning it. That's why this one is in a ball, because I had to hand wind this whole thing after hat number 2 because of the chaos that hit. And even this is not ideal because it just kind of falls off the side. I just need help. Send me help, buy information. Also, when you weave in the ends and you snip them, like, how do you keep it from stop falling apart? Do I need to, like, do you burn the ends with or singe them? I don't know. If there's a trick to that, please let me know, because I have to make ears, little bear ears, and I have to weave those in for these hats. And honestly, I'm probably at the point where I'm just going to return that one because I hate this yarn so much. I wanted to make a bunch of these little bear hats because I was like, those would be just so cute to give a new mother, but I just can't. I can't do it. I hate this yarn so much. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's so bad. But please let me know what I should do. So what I plan on doing as far as some more baby hats is I have this, which is, I guess, a similar yarn. But I need to get this out of my stash because this has been in my stash since 2014, 2015. And you can see the status of this skein of yarn. This is also some Yarn Bee. This is Dream Chenille. This is some really old Yarn Bee, and this is the color Spring Green. And then I have this same yarn in this blue color. I mean, this is a chunkier. This is, maybe they're the same. I don't know. I don't know where I got this from. It doesn't have a ball band. I'm just assuming that it can't be the same because this is actually multi-strand. This might be Red Heart. I may have more of it down there. Or Lion Brand. Let me grab that. Okay, so I stand corrected. It's not Red Heart. This is Lion Brand. This is another really old deep stasher. Babies First. Lion Brand. It is a number 5 bulky. It is acrylic 55%, 43% cotton. No, 45%. Sorry, I don't have all my glasses. And it is a plied yarn. You can see all the little plies. One of the reasons I haven't used this yarn is because it is so splitty. And it's really soft though. Like, it's a great baby yarn. This is the fairy tale color. This is the mystery color. We don't know. But I might make some hats out of this to donate and just to get it out of my stash because that's this whole stash down thing. And I chose hats this year because I did baby booties a while back. But hats tend to go a little bit faster and there's only one of them. So you don't have second booty syndrome. And you can use chunkier yarns and get done faster and make more hats. However, when the yarns attack, I don't know what the best plan attack is. So I'm gonna make some hats out of these. I'm probably gonna do something similar with this and just make some basic beanies because these are donation hats. I don't know. Maybe I'll make some bear hats out of these. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll make some bear hats and see how that goes. Like 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, I did this video and I talked about this yarn journal and I showed my old yarn journals and I brought one of those with me to show you so you can see where this all started. But I love to use notebooks for various things. And when I first started my knitting and crochet journey, I started keeping up with what I was making. This was before I found Ravelry, because I didn't find Ravelry until like 4 days. I started on the 28th. I found Ravelry on January the 1st. And December 28th, 2012. So that's why I started keeping up with my projects. And I like to keep things like the project and the hook or the needle, the yarn, any notes or any kind of thing that's happening during that time. And then I always put like little snippets of the yarn. The problem is like the way I was doing this, I was doing 1 page per thing, and I was just kind of leaving like a lot of space. Even if I didn't use the whole page, I would just leave all that space. And I was going through notebooks. I have 2 of these that I have been doing. And I just kind of didn't have the best printer at the time for printing photos. I was trying to print them off on one of those little planner photos. Like I had the HP Sprocket, and it's a decent little printer, but it wasn't very cost effective. And so I kind of let that project die in a way, and then I just really focused on using Ravelry, which is great. I love Ravelry, don't get me wrong, but Ravelry's probably not always going to be here. And even though notebooks are something that are, they're going to wear down over time, you can lose them in a fire, yada, yada, yada. I still like the whole analog paper and pen. That is my sole being, is the nostalgic things of the past, which is kind of what's fitting for this video, this analog reset that I've been experiencing. And I did work on this. And the way I'm doing this one's a little bit differently. I'm actually going back from the very beginning, and I have started putting in my yarns and notes. This is actually a planner from our journal from Archer and Olive. Tongue-tied. And then this is just one of their plastic covers you can get. And I like to use these on these while I'm working in them, so they just kind of don't have as much wear on them, and they don't take up as much space. And what I'm going to do is put like a number volume 1 down the side and like a Sharpie, and then I'm buying the rest of them. They make so many of these in different colors, and that way they'll be uniform journals. And so what I've done in here is I've put in here my name, volume 1, and my book of makes is the title of this thing. And then I put a couple of random photos up front. These are some crochet hooks that I've made in the past out of clay, the bear, and then I made some stitch markers. I just kind of want to have something like that in the front. And then I left a space to go back and write my yarn journey. And then what I'm going to do here is put why I picked up my hooks and needles in the first place. This is kind of my journal style and my everyday journal. I like to add photos. I'd sometimes add some doodles. I didn't put as big of yarn snippets in there because I realized I was keeping too much yarn, and it was also making the book really thick. Here's my next one. This one's going to be for my spinning. But the cool thing about these Archer and Olive journals is they have a band on them. So even if this thing gets super thick, I can still close it and it's going to stay closed, where this other kind doesn't have that and it just opens up all the way. So that's kind of why I chose these. And there's other companies that make different very similar notebooks like this, like Moleskine is one of them. But I love the paper and the Archer and Olive because I can use a fountain pen if I want to, and they do have pin loops, and I love how uniform they are, but different. So this is the one that's going to be for my spinning, because I do need to work on getting that organized. And then I have another one already that I got off a D-Stash, which is going to be volume 2 for my everyday journal. In here, I will write when I started it, when I finished it, the hook, the yarn, the color. I keep up with the amount of yarn I use, and then I add projects. And the way I do these photos is I use Canva. And I'll take all the photos and I have a certain size. I have a template made up for this. And I even have one up for my journal. And then I can just print off a whole page of like sticker paper, like regular size paper at one time and cut. And it saves so much money. I will link my favorite materials for that process down below in case you're interested. But you can see where I started this. And I've done quite a bit of different projects in here. I'll put the yarn labels in there, and I put photos in there. But what I've been doing for this one, it goes beyond a little bit what I had done in the previous one. So for this, I'm pulling up my blog, and then I'm pulling up Ravelry, and then I'm getting the original journal out, and I'm taking all that information that I have in all those three places and combining it in one place. So it's more of a story and not just a um, memory keeping or a data sheet, I guess you can say. There's definitely more of a story with this process because I'm writing my feelings about what was going on during that from what I had wrote in the blog. And I like that I'm doing that because I'm leaving this for my children and my grandchildren. And I'm able to write more meaningful things about the projects and why I made those projects. Like, this is a little girl in my area who had cancer. And so, my first full year of knitting and crocheting, I made her a hat because she loves purple and owls. And I kind of talk about my process with my first socks and other socks. So currently I'm in 2014, and you can see where I leave spaces because there's photos that I forgot to print off that I've already got pulled and on that sheet for Canva. I'm just waiting before I get the whole thing filled before I print them off. And I have the template where I made the previous sticker so I can just trace it out, and that way I know to put that sticker there. But that is what I've been kind of working on. I just really love memory keeping and the whole nostalgic feel of having a paper and a pen. But I definitely think that between the journaling and being sick and really slowing down, it's really kind of helped me be more intentional with my time over the last, it seems like 2 weeks, but I guess it's really, I guess it kind of is 2 weeks since I recorded last. And even being outside more. I have been outside so much. We've had extremely cooler weather for this time of year for Alabama, and I've taken full advantage of it in building a little garden in front of the house and just doing outside yard work. I talked about before, we have inherited my in law's house, and they lived there for over 40 years. Both of them grew up during World War II. My mother in law was actually in Austria still at that time, and so they were not hoarders. They didn't keep trash, but they did hold on to things that many of us would see no problem letting go of. And it does create this challenge of having to clean out things and go through things so we can start renovations on the house. And I've been working over there a lot. I'm typically over there from about 8:30 to about 5 in the afternoon, at least 3 to 4 days a week, and then trying to fit everything here and then recording and editing in the other time. And I only have been having like an hour of knitting and crochet time at night typically, which is not a lot, but I've been trying to make use of it. And I think that's okay. I think that I'm still working through yarn and I'm not stopping even though I have all the things of the world coming at me. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. We're just supposed to find a balance to do it all in. And I know that's hard. I know it's hard for me. But sometimes having that reset of going back to simpler ways of doing things like the pen and paper kind of help. I'm trying to reshift how my brain does stuff during the day. Um, I'm trying to definitely limit my screen time, and so I don't take my phone with me during the day. Like, I have my watch if someone calls, and I can get to my phone and then answer it. We don't have a house phone. We just use our cell phones, and I've already deleted Facebook off my phone and Instagram. So the only way I can access both of those is through my computer when I'm sitting down, and I'm never sitting down until the evening. And it's been a big shift. I do keep up YouTube and Discord though for community purposes so I can check comments. But I don't even really watch videos during the day. I can't lately because I'm over there and there's no Wi-Fi. Where I live, there's no cell phone signal. So to have a cell phone signal, I have to have Wi-Fi, and over there there's not any. So I've been enjoying the analog life over there. There is this amazing record player there that I have been trying to unearth from all the other stuff that was in front of it, and I've got it to where I can finally plug it up. I'm gonna hopefully plug it up tomorrow and clean it. I gotta clean it before I can put any records on it. I'm praying that it works. If not, I will be looking into a local Alabamian who repairs those, because this piece is, it's very special to me. It came from Austria. It's a German hand made unit from the 60s. I think 64, 65 is when it was dated. And it has this faux marble little fireplace. It's an electric fireplace. And it's also a cocktail bar. I don't drink, so I'm just going to use that for other kind of storage. But it has this thing that pulls out, and that's where you play your records on. It's just so amazing and mid-century modern. I just love it so much. And I can't wait to have it cleaned up and in the home and I can play records. And during this whole clean out, I have found so many amazing records that my in-laws owned. And so I'm going through those one by one and I'm logging them all into Discogs and keeping up with what I own. And I'm also cleaning each record because they didn't really take very good care of them. So I bought a whole record cleaning kit, and I'll sit down at night sometimes and I'll just clean a couple of records and trying to match up the records to the actual cardboard sleeve. And I even ordered replacement plastic sleeves for them and to make sure that they're going to last for many, many, many years. But I cannot wait to get in there, move into that house, have that fixed, and listen to records while I knit and crochet. It's going to be amazing. So speaking of journaling, I do want to show you another fun craft that I did this past week. So I do love to Bible journal. Mostly my Bible journaling is just a lot of note taking and noting different verses and what they mean to me or what I'm trying to learn. And I love studying the Greek and Hebrew words, so that's a lot of my Bible journaling. But I like to make things for my Bible. And one of those is bookmarks. And I was in Home Depot, and I've also been preparing for an upcoming video that deals with color. And I was walking by the paint chip section, and I just love that section of Home Depot and Lowe's. Like all those colors displayed, it's just very inspiring to me. And so I grabbed a couple of paint chips, and at Home Depot they had some really long ones. Like usually they're not as long, I don't think at Lowe's. Maybe they are. But I was just like looking at these and I'm like, that could be a craft. So I brought it home and I started cutting off the sides. So you can see where I cut the sides off of this one and cut off the word part. And then you're just kind of left with strips like this of just color. And so I put a piece of tape on there and then I punched a hole. The washi tape just kind of gives it some security. You can do clear tape as well, but it's just going to kind of make it last a little bit longer. And then I made a couple for my Bible, and then I made one for my planner. And I just stuck some lace in the top of it. But I thought it would be super cute to make some of these and then just use your leftover yarn. Because part of our stash down, we've been talking about that little bit of leftovers that you really don't know what to do with. And this is a great way to handle that. So what you do is you just cut your yarn a couple of inches and you want to fold it in half. You want to stick the crochet hook of the card, pull the yarn through. Then you're going to take the loops behind and pull those through that loop. and then snug. And then that is going to give you the cute little finished look. And just to kind of mark things, but also use those scraps in a very creative way. Perch did have a bake sale to raise money for our kids' summer programs, and it was so much fun, y'all. I am not a baker though. Like, I am not a baker. There's that whole exact measurement thing that my mind just cannot comprehend. I am more of in the spirit kind of cooker. A dash of this, a good helping of that, and go with your heart kind of cooking. But my mom's a baker, and so she baked some things for this sale. We had a bunch of people bake things at our church, and then there's an auction, and the money goes towards the kids' camps. And there's actually an auctioneer that comes who attends our church, and he auctions off these cakes, and the kids walk and show off the cakes. And it helps lower the cost of their tuition to go to camps. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very loud, and it lasts several hours.
40, then 45, then 45, then 45, then 45, got 40 here. Then 45, then 45, then 45, 45, then 50, 50, then.
And then we had the missionaries come back from Africa, South Africa, and they ministered to the Zuzu people. And I mentioned them before because last year during VBX, they were our target missionary group. So each year at VBX at our church, our little kids bring in money, and they have like a challenge of girls versus boys so you can raise the most money. And all that money goes straight to the missionaries that we sponsor that year. And it is the Seven Rivers Outreach. And so last year when they came, they brought these dolls, and I bought one. This is a hand knit doll from the Zuzu women, and you can see there's Seven Rivers Outreach right there. That's their Bible verse that they love. And so this is the doll. It's all hand knit, and then they hand make the clothes, so it's hand sewn little clothes. And look how cute it has on shoes. And they're actually separately made shoes and slid on and then stitched on. And they have little shoestrings. It's so adorable. So this is the first one I got. You can see the buttons for the shirt there. I got him last year. I love his little hair. He's adorable. So when they came this year, they brought more dolls. And this year, they also brought some animals. A little knitted elephant from them. And it has the same information on there. But isn't not she the most adorable thing with her little dress and her little cute buttons? I love her so much. And then I got her this year, and I love them. She's a little bit smaller than the previous year's doll, and they have gotten cheaper. They did that so they can make them more affordable because they want the money to go to the women. But I think they're the cutest little pair. I love her hair as well and her beads. She has a cute little shirt on, her little skirt. Her shoes are actually made onto her by just doing some color changes. It's not separate pieces. And then she also has a cute little purse. But I love how now that they're putting their sewn tag on there. I thought that was pretty special. She didn't have a sheet of paper that had her maker on there. That's one of the things I loved about him is he actually has this little piece of paper that shows the name of the artisan and their Bible verse. I just thought that was kind of special, and I wish she had it. I also love her little headband. It's made and it's sewn onto her head and the back with a little bow. But I just really love supporting organizations like that. And now they are in here living in the shed. So as part of the cleaning out, I have been finding some other great treasures at my mom and papa's house. And some of that is knitting. Now, I mentioned before that I have been knitting and crocheting because of my mother-in-law, because of her disease, and to help her get back into it. And I knew that she kind of crochet. I didn't even know she knit. She never, when we were talking about her journey in knitting and crocheting, she never really mentioned that she knit a lot. She just said that she used to knit when she was younger. And I never seen any hair knitting. I have this blue and white shirt that was knit, but I think it was knit by her mother. And while I was cleaning, though, I found something that she had knit. And so she was knitting on these really old knitting needles. These are some really old boy size 8. I don't even know what this is on it, but I found a little bit of knitting attached to it. How cute. So I want to do something with this and put this somewhere to display. I'm thinking about maybe doing something with the needles like this and putting it on the wall with like a string of the yarn. This yarn, I actually found another one that she had not taken the label off of. So this is Lion brand Chunky USA. I don't know how old this is. I'd be curious to find out when this came out so I can kind of date this project a little bit. It's color Yukon Gold and it's 100% acrylic, 155 yards. So if anyone has an idea about when this came out, I would love to know. I'm thinking about reaching out to Lion Brand just to kind of see, because I kind of am wondering when she started this, and that would be a pretty good indicator, I think, to figure that out. And this is just a little garter. She was knitting back and forth, but her stitches are very consistent, and I thought it was a really cool find. Also, I found she has a bunch of red heart yarn and some other yarns. I actually plan on, I haven't been able to get to them yet because there's a lot of other stuff in the way, but I plan on going through all those and getting them all and just donating them, like I mentioned before. I'm probably going to take them to my Worldwide Knit and Crochet public event and let whoever wants them have them. The only thing I'm kind of keeping is a couple of yarns, like the Fiesta. I don't know. I hate the feel of this stuff, but I do love how it looks. I think it's pretty fun. I want to make a basket or two out of this yarn. I think it would be really durable and a fun thing. But while I was finding that, I found where she had started another chevron blanket. And I had shown there's a pink blanket over there that she had made years ago. That's when I introduced her to James Brett Marble Chunky. And she fell in love with that yarn. She loved it so much she would not ever use any other yarn. Like I had to get it from our local yarn store, and then when they closed down, I had to order it straight from the UK for her every time because I could never find anyone locally that had like 5 balls. And she always wanted 5 balls for blankets. And she always made the same blanket, but she'd started one with this Fiesta yarn, and I just I don't know. I don't want to take this apart though. I'm not going to. I'm going to weave in the ends and probably make this like a table runner to put somewhere, just kind of as a little memory of her kind of thing. Because it was one of, that was one of her last projects. And then the last thing she was working on with the James Brett Marble Chunky, you may have seen this sitting in the floor in some of my videos recently. So she had a couple of things she was working on in here. She'd actually just finished this blanket. I found it. This is one of her James Brett Marble Chunky blankets. I'm gonna put this up and use this in our house over there, but I love this brown color. This is the same color I'm using for that Christmas blanket that I was making. I just was using her leftovers. That's why I don't have a lot of it. But I just bought her this not too long ago. There may not be a tag. This is more James Brett Marble Chunky. I don't know what color this is. I can probably look it up on my order history. But she was making, none of these have the label on them. She was making another blanket. She had started making this one, and then I remember her saying that it wasn't wide enough. And so it's only that wide. And so she had stopped making it. And then she had restarted it and made it wider. And I guess she was just gonna rip the yarn out and do something with it. I'm probably just gonna leave this one and maybe just weave in the ends and put it up for like a baby blanket. But this is where she was really this is where her memory was really going. This was towards the very end of her battle. And I don't know. I kind of want to leave it like it is because you can see where she really tried. I would get her started on it and I would give it to her, and she would really try to remember the stitches. But her disease was really starting to win at that point. And so she would wind up skipping areas and stitches and then not really realizing how to, you can see it there, how to go about getting them. And it's, I don't know. I may just put this one up and I don't know yet. It looks like we're about to get more rain and it's getting darker outside again. But this week I just kind of wanted to sit down and talk to you and show you some things that I found when I have been going through and cleaning and decluttering and boxing up and what I've been working on in my time that I had, and just kind of have like a moment of slowness with you. I really enjoy technology, but I think technology definitely takes something from us that we cannot get back. And I think we've got to be careful with our use of it. You know, we've been having a conversation in the Discord channel about AI and technology and its use in our, especially in our community. And I don't know if there is an answer. I do think conversations about that kind of stuff is good, especially in our community, because not everyone is in tune with it, and so they need to kind of have an awareness about it. So if you want to join our conversation about AI and the crafting community, check out the Discord channel. I'll drop a link down below and you can do that and you can chat with us about what you're working on or what you're planning to work on. And there's just a whole lot of threads going on there. It's a lot of fun. I just opened up one for recipes. So if you have any recipes you want to share, it's a great place to do it. I love crock pot meals, especially in the fall and winter, because that gives me more crafting time. But currently I'm on a gluten-free journey, and that's also been something I've been dealing with. That's not been fun. It's a whole different can of worms for a whole different day. But I hope wherever you are, you're able to take a few moments out of your week or a few days out of your week and step back from the electronic world and just kind of focus on the things around you. Go outside, absorb some sunlight, take a project with you, work in a flower bed, do some gardening, and just let your creativity flow in other ways beyond just knitting and crochet. There's so many outlets out there and fun things to do that can get us moving and exploring new ways to express ourselves. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm so red. Hey, Pie, look. Say hey, people.